Hello everyone, welcome to another video of our channel. In the previous video we have discussed about the metabolic reactions that is taking place in our body, that is the catabolic and the anabolic reactions, and how the macronutrients, that is the carbohydrate, protein and fats, are broken down into smaller fragments or smaller molecules of glucose, protein and fat, and they are utilized for generation of energy in our body. Now in this video we will discuss mainly about the glycolysis, where the carbohydrate molecules are broken down into fragments of glucose and they are further fragmented or broken down for utilization of energy. So now let's start. As we said in the previous video that at first the carbohydrates are broken down into smaller fragments of glucose, that is a simple sugar form, and there is further breakdown of the glucose molecule or the sugar molecule, or the lysis of the glucose molecule, that is the glycolysis, and there is formation of pyruvate, which further takes part in different kinds of cycles and processes for the yield of ATP. Now at first the glucose molecule is broken down into pyruvate, and from one glucose molecule two pyruvate molecules are generated. Now if you look at the structure of glucose, the glucose is made up of a 6 carbon compound. So the 6 carbon compound, that is glucose, is broken down into a 3 carbon compound, that is pyruvate, and after that it undergoes through TCA cycle or the Krebs cycle, and in presence of oxygen it undergoes through aerobic respiration, that is the oxidative phosphorylation, and in absence of oxygen it undergoes through the lactic acid cycle. Now the process of glycolysis takes place within the cytoplasm of the cell, and after that the acetyl CoA is transported to the mitochondrial matrix where the Krebs cycle takes place, and after that the oxidative phosphorylation part takes place in the mitochondrial inner membrane. Now the glycolysis consists of two phases. The first phase is the energy investment phase, or there is involvement of energy or ATP. So now at first the glucose molecule enters the cytosol, and the glucose molecule is converted to glucose 6-phosphate, or there is phosphorylation of the glucose molecule by the enzyme hexokinase. Hexo means 6. So the hexokinase phosphorylates the glucose molecule, and there is involvement of an ATP molecule, and the ATP molecule is converted to ADP, or adenosine diphosphate. Now the first step is also a rate limiting step, as it is often unidirectional in nature, and the conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to glucose is dependent upon different kind of factors. Now in the second phase the glucose 6-phosphate molecule is converted to fructose 6-phosphate molecule by means of the enzyme phosphohexose isomerase. Now as we can see from the name, it is a kind of isomerase kind of enzyme, so there is conformational change and or the structural change of the glucose molecule, and it gets converted to another 6 carbon compound, that is fructose 6-phosphate. Now in the third phase the fructose 6-phosphate molecule is converted to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, which is also a rate limiting step, and here also there is involvement of an ATP molecule or adenosine triphosphate, and it gets converted to ADP, and it donates a phosphate group or phosphorylates the molecule by means of the enzyme phosphofructokinase 1, and it is also a rate limiting step. Now in the fourth phase the fructose 1,6-bisphosphate molecule is converted to 1 molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and 1 molecule of dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Here the enzyme aldolase took part. And this step is also a very vital step, as there is conversion of a 6 carbon compound or glucose molecule to 2 3 carbon compounds, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Now the dihydroxyacetone phosphate is further converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate by means of the enzyme triose phosphate isomerase. So from one molecule of glucose, 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is generated, and the first phase of the glycolysis comes to an end, that is the energy investment phase. Now in the second phase, that is the energy harvesting phase. In the energy harvesting phase, 2 glyceraldehyde molecules or the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate molecule is generated from one molecule of glucose. Now the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate molecule gets converted to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate by means of the enzyme glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, and here inorganic phosphate takes part and NAD plus molecule takes part, and there is formation of NADH and H plus ion. So as there is 2 molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, there is formation of 2 molecule of 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, and there is also involvement of 2 inorganic phosphate and 2 NAD plus ion, and there is formation of 2 NADH and 2 H plus ion. Now in the 7th step, the 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate. Now in this step, 2 ADP molecule takes place and the enzyme phosphoglycerate kinase takes part. As we can see that the ADP molecule is converted to ATP and the 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate, and there is a yield of 2 ATP. So it is a very important step. Now the 3-phosphoglycerate is converted to 2-phosphoglycerate by means of the enzyme phosphoglycerate mutase, and after that the 2-phosphoglycerate is converted to phosphoenol pyruvate, where one molecule of water is eliminated by means of the enzyme enolase, and after that the phosphoenol pyruvate is converted to pyruvate, which is also the rate limiting step and the end step of the glycolysis process, where there is also involvement of ATP molecule and there is production of ATP. As there is presence of 2 phosphoenol pyruvate, 2 ADP molecule takes part and 2 ATP molecule is generated, and the enzyme pyruvate kinase does the action. So finally we can say that from one molecule of glucose, 2 molecules of pyruvate are generated and 4 molecules are ATP are generated. Now coming to the ATP calculation, in the first phase or the energy investment phase, there is involvement of 2 ATP, and in the second phase or the energy harvesting phase, there is production of 4 ATP. So in a net there is production of 2 ATP in a whole cycle of glycolysis, that is from one molecule of glucose, 2 molecule of pyruvate and 2 ATP are produced. Now looking at the total reaction taking place in the whole process of glycolysis, we can say that along with one molecule of glucose, there is involvement of 2 molecules of ADP and 2 inorganic phosphate and 2 NAD plus ion, and this leads to production of 2 molecules of pyruvate and 2 NADH molecule and 2 H plus ion and 2 ATP and 2 molecules of water. So that's it for today's video. In the next video, we will discuss about the regulation of the glycolysis and the other biological processes such as the Krebs cycle or the TCA cycle and the oxidative phosphorylation. So hope this video will help you, and if you like the video, please share the video and subscribe our channel. Thank you.